telling where you'll end up. Can you make it through?
To the night's end.
I'll see you soon.
Ah, friend. Thank death you're here. And with gifts. Let's get this to the things before we become the food. Here you go, my darlings. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm now in your debt. Maybe I can show you something special next time. Let's head on back. So which unfortunate soul crossed you to end up down here in my domain? Okay, keep your secrets. Let's have another story. This one is called Last Night's Memory, written by Elizabeth Suggs, narrated by Rachel Pulliam.
A woman's cries woke me from my slumber. She was yelling at her captor, presumably me. I hadn't remembered grabbing the woman or coming to this dingy spot. Not that it surprised me much. I had forgotten things more often as of late. She sat in a chair, blindfolded and tied up. At least I did that right. Even being me, I walked over to the woman. She stifled her cries by the sounds of my boots. "Please," she whimpered. She had a soft voice, even under stress. By the looks of her and me, and the fact my gallon of water was half gone, I'd guess we'd been there for a day or so. So why hadn't I killed her? If I was so good at grabbing a woman on autopilot, why couldn't I finish the job? "Are you still there?" she whispered. There was something familiar about her, something I couldn't place. I turned my back to her and walked over to my bag of goodies. Another thing I did right. Most of these events included a bag, a tied-up victim, and some water. I'd done it for so long and so often that it was ingrained in my memory so deeply that not even whatever disease I had could take that away from me. At least I had that. I sifted through the bag, searching for a hacksaw or a knife or something else to start the process. But my fingers slipped whenever I grasped a weapon. My body shook. I didn't want to kill her. Least of all, make her suffer. I walked over to a chair on the opposite end of the room. I had brought it here a few years ago when I made the abandoned building my prime location. No one came to this place. It was too far off the grid, forgotten in a city already broken down and starving. There were no funds to bring up these buildings, so I had my pick. Though I liked this one best, I was comfortable with it. Every other time the job was easy. It should have been the same with this woman, despite my memory loss. Why was she so different? Why wasn't she like the others? "Please," she begged again. "I want to go home. Can you please take me home?" The funny thing was that I probably could have taken her home. If I had bothered with the blindfold, then I would have put it on right before she saw my face or my car. I could bring her home in the same way as I'd taken her, and no one would be the wiser. But I liked that solution even less than the first. I didn't like to leave things undone. It wasn't my nature. "I don't know who you are. I don't ever have to tell anyone about this. I just want to go home. I promise I won't tell anyone. Please." She broke down in tears. No matter how many times I did this job, I hated it when they cried. It made the whole thing harder. My mom used to cry when I was a kid when she didn't get her way, which was a common occurrence. Her tears were never real. I could handle fake tears, but real ones? No one ever cried like that. Not even at my parents' funeral. No one shed a tear. That wasn't our way. Please, is there anyone there? I just want to go home. She sobbed louder. I walked out of the room into a dilapidated hall. There was a broken window overlooking an empty back street. She could cry louder and longer, and the only one who suffered was me. I paced the length of the hall, checking my watch, trying to ignore her muffled cries. I only needed to wait her out a little longer, and then maybe I'd have a clear head. I'd finish off the work and be done with it. Once I was sure she finished crying, I stepped back into the room and closed the door. I did it softly, but her ears were like a dog's. She heard me. "Who's there? Are you here to help me? Please, I need to go home." The only other time I hesitated like this was my first time. My dad had taken me then. He was showing me the ropes, explaining it as a medication for our anger. Maybe he'd been right because I never got angry. Though I never really felt much of anything except whenever I saw tears, but that was an occupational hazard. "I want to go home," she repeated. I walked over to her chair, my heavy boots rattling on the floor. She sucked in a breath. Kneeling in front of her, I said in a low voice, "You're not going anywhere." Another round of sobs. I shouldn't have talked. "Why not? Why can't I go home? I live on 402 Oakwood Lane. I live there with my cat Sam and my boyfriend Kenny. I just want to go home." She went silent. Maybe she was waiting for a response. Her forehead wrinkled. She looked so familiar, I couldn't shake it. She started to speak fast. "Do you want money? I can give you money. That's what this is all about, right? You just want money?" Why did they always think it was about money? "No money," I growled, standing up. Usually, when they got like this, I would hack off their parts. It was the slow deaths that I enjoyed most. Slow and deliberate, as if their experience would almost be my own. When it was too quick, I still felt nothing. No, it had to be slow. But the pitiful mess before me didn't have my appetite. I didn't want to kill her slowly or otherwise. My stomach rumbled, pulling me from my thoughts. I stood from my spot and walked over to my supplies. Shuffling past blades, a hammer and nails and rope, I grabbed a tuna sandwich wrapped in plastic. I unwrapped it and broke it in two, eating the first half carefully, considering my next move. I didn't think I'd figure a solution out to my problem anytime soon, and I wasn't going to let her die in the meantime, so I gave her the other half of my sandwich. I broke the pieces off with my fingers and set them in her mouth. She resisted at first, but eventually she ate. She must have been hungry because she almost bit off my finger when the food ran out. I gave her some water, then drank some myself. At the very least, I wouldn't kill her a coward's way. That much was certain. "What do you want?" she whispered. I should have just grabbed the saw and started then, but I couldn't. I stared at her, hoping that whatever caused this reluctance would be answered on her face. It wasn't. It only brought more questions. The solution was a quick kill. Maybe I needed to chalk it up to bad luck and try again. I had a gun holstered in my belt. I pulled it out and cocked it.
"Gun's a coward's way."
I heard my dad's voice in my head. I pushed the thought out of my mind and raised the pistol. Coward. My hand shook. I just needed one shot. One shot and I could start over again. "Please don't. My mother's birthday is tomorrow." How had she heard me? How could she know? I stood inches from her, kneeling down. "Your mom's gonna have to miss out," I said. "No, please. She's dead. I go to her grave on her birthday. I want to do that. I was planning to do that." "Too bad," I murmured. "What about you? What about your mother?" My hand was still shaking. I just needed to get it over with. I went through a list of my upcoming plans. She'd die, I'd clean up the body, get out of here and take a few days off. Truth be told, my mom's birthday was tomorrow too. Maybe visiting her grave would clear my mind. After that, I'd find someone else, and this time I'd remember doing it. I pushed the gun to her forehead. All I needed to do was a single flick of my finger. Only one, and she'd be done. "No, no, no," she cried. "Please, don't you care?" "Nope. In fact, my mom's birthday is also tomorrow. Maybe I'll wrap up your head with a cute little bow and give it to her as a present." Childish. I would have done better with silence. But there was something about this lady that kept me talking. It was the same power that paralyzed my true nature. "No, please, I just want to go home. Can you do that for me?" "No, you're dead." I thought she was going to cry, but instead she drew in a breath and whispered, "Then let me see your face." "What?" "I'm already going to die," she said, her voice shaking. "Let me see your face. Let me look at you." I almost responded to her, but that only enticed her to speak more, or worse, tear up again. I didn't really need to argue with her anyway. She was right. I should let her see me before I killed her. I let the others right at the end. I almost enjoyed seeing the life leave their eyes, a flicker of a candle snuffed out. But when I removed her blindfold, all I saw were my father's dark blue eyes, angry eyes, disapproving. I was a coward. I'd been a coward killing him, and I was a coward now. "You don't have to do it this way. You don't have to do it this way," she whispered. Her eyes changed from anger to fear. "You don't have to do this." "Your hope went away with that blindfold," I said. She paled, then nodded. "Make this last death count." I lowered the gun. "What are you talking about?" She didn't reply, so I shot her stomach. I had heard somewhere getting shot in the gut was one of the most painful deaths because the stomach acid got loose on the rest of your body. You're eating yourself inside out. Maybe this wasn't such a coward's death. At least here, she'd suffer. We both would. My hand came to my belly, feeling blood from the bullet. I was in the chair where the woman had sat, where the woman never was. My memory was getting worse. There had never been another woman. My dad had been like this near the end. I shot him in the head to put him out of his misery. Even in death, his eyes retained their intensity. My mother was better. She just pretended to cry because she never cared whether she lived or died. I saw that in her eyes, that she never felt anything. That's why I knew she and I were too similar for our own good. But then again, maybe we weren't that similar. The cries that shook the building, those had been real tears. My tears.
You've been listening to the Night's End podcast, which is a production of Dissonance Media. To support us, leave a review, or for bonus content, head to patreon.com/Night's End podcast. Our website is nightsendpodcast.com. Last Night's Memory was written by Elizabeth Suggs. Do you love horror? Check out Editing Me's horror anthology, Collective Darkness. Learn more at collectivedarkness.com. Narration was performed by Rachel Pulliam. Jimmy Horrors was performed by James Barnett. This episode was produced by James Barnett. Stay horrific, everyone.